Good evening, friends, and welcome on this seventh day of December to the Hamilton Report. I'm Scott J. Hamilton, Executive Director of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, and I'm awfully happy that you decided to spend half an hour with us this evening. It's a show that I promise that you will be happy you tuned into. We all need a little hope this time of year, and our guest this evening will not just bring us some, but also talk about how that was the foundation for his campaign. A couple of things before we do that. I want to invite you, as I do each week, to think about what topics you would like to see on the Hamilton Report, what guests that you would like to hear from on this broadcast. See, we didn't start out to do this for only a month or two. In fact, we've been here every week since the 1st of August, and we will certainly continue well into the new year. But we need to hear from you. This is what we call a deeper drill, as opposed to we go down a bit, not a deep dive on anything, more to let you know what's going on in the state of Oklahoma with our party, and to look at issues that are important to not just Democrats, but everyone who calls Oklahoma home. So I do invite you to let us know what you would like to hear. Let us know who you would like to hear from. And I'm going to put this email up and invite you to email us at any time with your thoughts on who you would like to see on this broadcast. Also, a reminder that Alicia Andrews, our state party chair, goes live every Monday and Wednesday on Facebook. And also you can see it on the party's YouTube channel at 4:15. We will continue those through the month of December on Monday and Wednesday. And then in January, she's going back to her daily lives because we've had a lot of people requesting that time. And I think it's important as we gear up for an exciting year ahead. But without any further ado, I'm very, very happy to finally have the opportunity to welcome to our broadcast a man that I have been looking forward to having on for some time. He joins us tonight from his home in Muskogee, Oklahoma. He is the first Black mayor of the town of Muskogee. And while that was certainly not the foundation on which he built his campaign, it is something worth noting because anytime there is a first in the state, we try to bring that to your attention because it's always good to know. And so I'm very happy to welcome to the Hamilton Report the mayor of Muskogee, Oklahoma, Marlon J. Coleman. I should say Reverend Marlon J. Coleman. But Mr. Mayor, welcome to our broadcast this evening.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. I'm just so happy to be here tonight.
You know, rather than calling you mayor and Reverend, if for the purposes of our broadcast tonight, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to call you Marlon.
Marlon is perfect. I always tell people all the time, I actually don't care for the term Reverend. It sounds so formal, but my mother named me Marlon, and I'm proud of that.
Well, you should be, and I know that your family is proud of you. One of the things that I told our viewers as we came into this program tonight that really it captured me in your election. You were running against someone who had been in office for a long time. And there was a tremendous amount of negative campaigning across the country this year. But what stood out for me was the positive notes that you used in your campaign. And it must have resonated with the people of Muskogee. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that, if you would. Why you chose a message of hope as opposed to, cleaning house or moving on to the negative side of the equation.
I think that what's going on nationally for so long is that when we have different people running for office, they tend to focus on national party lines. And unfortunately, for a long time now, those party lines tend to be attacking other people. And so I thought that what we needed in Muskogee was hope. Muskogee is a place that's got highway, waterway, airway, railway. We've got a small airport and a space shuttle, and nobody was talking about the things that could bring hope to Muskogee. And so I decided, with the help of a lot of others who were advising, that we were going to talk about hope, what we can do to make Muskogee better. The person who I ran against that made the most attacks, he had ran for office, I think maybe 3 times to try to be mayor. And he was very negative in attacking myself, the current mayor at the time, Janie Boydston, and people were just sick of it at the time. I mean, Muskogee wanted to hear a positive message. They wanted to go back to their days of previous glory, and the best way to do that was to focus on the hopeful message for what we knew Muskogee could be.
And another part of, or I guess a piece of that whole hopefulness, you said in your mind, Muskogee was too big to dream small. And that's a more than just a campaign slogan. From everything that I've seen, it really is the way that you believe about your town, your community, the people who you live and work with.
That's absolutely right. I really believe that about Muskogee. We've got the best potential of any city our size. We have everything we need to rival larger cities that are near to us, such as Broken Arrow, Tulsa, Jinx. And if you can find a way to challenge into people's dreams and help them realize we're too big to settle for less. And, we're just too big to dream small. And so I feel like my job as the highest elected municipal official in the city is to inspire hope by encouraging people to live up to their dreams, to live up their potential. Residents that I talked to on the campaign trail were always talking about what they thought Muskogee could be. And they were tired of feeling second place, or tired of feeling like whenever there was an industrial job opportunity, we almost got it. And so my whole platform was based on hope, from the perspective that people's dreams could become reality, that their dreams could really come true in the city of Muskogee. And so we really hit on the message that we're too big for small dreams, and why settle for less?
One of the things that I know has been challenging for you, as it has been with every mayor, every elected official throughout the state this year, and that is dealing with COVID-19. I know that you have been very instrumental in urging a statewide mandate on masks, because frankly, the people that live in your community don't just stay within the confines of Muskogee. Talk a little bit about what you've been able to do with your community, encouraging people to not take care of just themselves, but everyone around them.
One of the things that we did in Muskogee, we are, as far as I'm aware, the only city that gave free masks to every resident within the city limits. And so we worked with the council to approve a measure that was mail 5 masks or face coverings to every Muskogee resident. That was ahead of any type of mandate, because we thought if we want people to wear masks, then let's make a kind gesture and give them the masks that they need, because we're in a pandemic, and the most help that we could provide residents to stop the spread or slow the spread of COVID-19, we thought that would be a good gesture. So we did that initially. And then fast forward to where we are tonight, we had several brutal meetings with council concerning wearing masks. And it was almost as though we couldn't get a mask mandate passed at any cost. And so finally, we reached a compromise measure, and now we do have a mandate in place. And it's challenging. My heart goes out to every municipal leader, regardless of their party affiliation or where they are in the state of Oklahoma. It's a challenge to lead during COVID. I always make the joke with people that Bob Coleman, when he was the mayor of Muskogee, he fought away the bypass that was going to be built around Muskogee. Janie Boydston, when she was the mayor, she fought against the ill effects of the Great Flood. And then here I am fighting COVID. And the punchline I always use is, and I thought I was God's favorite child. But it's been a challenge, but it's been something that we have to face. It requires leadership. I certainly understand that there are extreme partisan views about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, but it's not about a party affiliation. It's about using the information we have to make the best decision to keep our residents safe. Particularly in my case, I've got over 37,000 residents, and I have to be concerned about their health and well-being, as well as those healthcare workers, those residents of nursing homes. We want children to be in school. And if a mask will go a little way to being certain that we can accomplish those things, and certainly that's something that we need to do.
Well, clearly you deeply are concerned about the people of your community. This was probably a bit in jest, but Mike Doran, who is joining us from Kansas, is asking the question: are you a born and bred Okie from Muskogee?
No, I'm actually born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been here about 10 years now. I relocated to Muskogee as a transplant to succeed the pastor of the church where I now pastor. And so when I came to Muskogee, I had been familiar with them because when I was 14, I came up for a youth conference under the pastor that I succeeded. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would end up living here in Muskogee, but I love Muskogee. For me right now, this point in my life is Muskogee or bust. We will do everything we can to make Muskogee great. Unless the Lord says otherwise, I plan to retire and die right here in Muskogee, fighting for the people in the city that I love.
Well, before we talk about dying, you got a lot of living left to do because
So
I'm anxious to be able to get back into the swing of things and come to the Azalea Festival. And just I know we're all tired, but I want to just ask you this question before we move on from the pandemic. Did you see a lot of folks in and around Thanksgiving who just absolutely disregarded their own safety and public safety?
not as many. I think maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, there was a lot of angst about any type of mask policy or mask mandate. But here recently, I'm confident that a majority of residents in Muskogee are wearing their masks. You're going to have people that they're just not going to do it. And in discussions with other mayors, we know that it's almost impossible to enforce a mandate without taking law enforcement from their regular jobs. But the people in Muskogee, by and large, are wearing their masks. Of course, everybody 100% participation, but if we get 70 to 80%, that'll go a long way to what we were doing before then. And I really believe that most people are wearing masks now because they trust the messenger. Most people in Muskogee know I'm not trying to hurt them. I'm not trying to be partisan. We just want what's best for our community. And we know that wearing masks is much better than the possibility of a shutdown. It's much better than the possibility of any stronger guidance coming down from the state. Whereas in the spring, they were closing restaurants, closing bars, limiting access to churches. Certainly, we want to avoid all of that. And if we get there by wearing a mask, that's what we're encouraging our residents to do.
Yeah, you mentioned churches, and not only are you a political leader in Muskogee, you're a faith leader as well. And how has the pandemic impacted the way that your church holds services, provides programming, and so forth?
It's been a challenge because when we were at the height of the pandemic, of course, everybody was doing live streaming. And then we made a decision to move to parking lot services. And so that was going really good because people felt safe. Here recently, we're back in our sanctuary with social distancing. We took out all of our pews. We put in chairs so that people can sit 6 feet apart. But it's been a challenge. People have not all come back to the strength that we're used to. I think most churches will agree with me that they're probably, if they're at 50% of their pre-COVID numbers, that's probably a bonus. But it has impacted what we're able to do in terms of being in the building. It has not impacted, I do have to say, it has not impacted our ability to reach the community because the week before Thanksgiving, or the week of Thanksgiving, rather, we gave away over 100 turkey baskets with sides in coordination with Grace Episcopal Churches, our neighbor, as well as one of the local Boy Scout packs. And so in terms of our outreach, that has been great because I think people have come together around a cause that they wanted to do, which is COVID-19.
And I'm glad that you said that. The congregation where I worship, New Life Baptist Church here in Oklahoma City, we had been doing, like you said, the live stream, and then we opened for some socially distanced worship service, and now we're back just to the live streaming because the numbers in Oklahoma City are so high. We're paying close attention to that. But what you said, I think, is critical. And in the midst of a pandemic, that message of hope has come to fruition, I think, in a way that I'd like for you to look at a bit. And by that, I mean, you mentioned working together with another church, working together with the Boy Scouts. We have all found ways of coming together where before we may not have had to. And so if there is anything that's good that has happened through this, I think it has caused all of us to think about how we can help one another, how we can stay connected, even in these challenging times. How does that work, though, in terms of politics for Muskogee? How does that work in terms of with the different departments that you have in working across lines? Because that's an important aspect of your job, and that's one of the reasons you ran this campaign and won the office, was because you're not afraid to reach out to both sides.
One of the things that I am always grateful for when I think about Coleman is the fact that we've always had a council that works well together. Now, we may have some strong differences, some strong disagreements, but I think at the end of the day, my job is to be a consensus builder, which means that we have to build a bridge over previous areas where walls may have kept us divided. We've been very fortunate to not have to work in a partisan manner because we don't have a partisan system at the municipal level. Even though we do have people that are registered as Republicans, Democrats, and Independents on the council, we found ways to work together regardless of party affiliation, regardless of even socio-demographic background. I'm certain that we do Muskogee. And my encouragement to any other leaders in Oklahoma is to not give into the noise of the national rhetoric, that we don't have to be divided by red and blue, Republican or Democrat. At the end of the day, our job is to serve our residents. And when we have hurting families during COVID, when we have independent small restaurants that are hurting, when we have people that are not being able to make rent, the last thing that they're concerned about is being a Republican or a Democrat. What they want is to know that your leaders are living and in office to help those communities. And so that's what
well, you have said something that I think is very important. In when at the end of the day, what matters is that we are people, and that we have to work together. We have to find ways to live together. And especially in a presidential election year, we find that divide between Republicans and Democrats quite strong. But we're about to enter into a new legislative session here in Oklahoma, where that's going to become an issue again. The Republicans versus the Democrats. I want you to draw on your own experience, and what are your hopes for the Oklahoma legislature in the upcoming year, the upcoming session?
I'm hoping when the session goes into play next year, that people will go in with a mindset that the greatest common enemy to the people of Oklahoma right now is COVID-19. And I'm hoping that if they keep that in mind, their mindset will shift away from voting for or against something because somebody is Republican or Democrat, and towards voting for whatever it's going to take to make Muskogee whole, to make the Muskogee people, Oklahoma people, as a state, to move them forward. People in Oklahoma are hurting. They are the victim of every setback associated with COVID-19. So when the legislature reconvenes in January and February of next year, I'm hoping that when they go in, COVID has changed their mindset. COVID has given them new lenses so that they see people as people in need, that even within themselves, we know that the Republicans control both houses at the state level, but even within themselves, where they have the majority, that the majority will come together for the benefit of what's best for all of Oklahomans, and that they will take advantage of the fact that our common enemy needs to be defeated together. We can't defeat COVID divided. It's going to take everybody working together with a platform that helps everyone, especially during this economic downturn.
I'm actually going to take that a step further, because you're using COVID exactly as you should, as the enemy. But we also have other enemies in Oklahoma, an education system that is just not working as it should. And that's another enemy. Another one might be the fact that we do not have a living wage as our baseline here in Oklahoma. So using COVID as an example of an enemy that we can all fight, I really appreciate your advice, because I think that it can be used in a lot of ways at 23rd and Lincoln here in Oklahoma City.
We really believe that education is the gateway out of poverty, and we've got to provide, especially our public school systems, the resources and the tools that they need to be able to educate our young people. That's not going to happen until we can take care of our teachers. I mean, one of the most downplayed professions, besides being a police officer, is being a school teacher. It's a very thankless job. At least the legislature can work together to be certain that the pay is adequate, because on a yearly basis, we lose lots of our teachers across the state to neighboring states such as Texas, who can pay better, who can offer better benefits, who can offer better bonuses, sign-on bonuses. We need to look at doing some of those things here in Oklahoma, because if we can teach our children and give them a proper education, introduce them to the fact that they have options besides just going to a regular college. They could take a trade through some of the systems here in Oklahoma. If we do that, then we are introducing our young people to the fact that we've presented to them a fabric that says we are a state where you can live, work, and play. That you don't have to just be raised here. You can actually get your education here, and you can live here. And I think if we go down that path, that's going to go a long way towards being certain that we have a future for our state. And on the living wage issue, the last thing any state wants to be is a state that is a legacy of poverty. And that can only be accomplished through education and being certain that the wages are here for people that want to live in Oklahoma.
I appreciate that so much, because if we don't quit allowing good young talent to leave, we're never going to realize our potential. I don't know if you know, I just happened to see that one of our viewers tonight is Reverend Dr. Samaj Van Zant, who also has roots in Louisiana, and he just gave you a nice shout out. But he's someone that was in Oklahoma, doing very well, and then moved on to New Jersey, and he's doing incredible work there. And as a pastor, there's a lot more flexibility in terms of movement. But it doesn't matter, I think, whether it's Oklahoma City or Tulsa, or a very, very small community, or somewhere like Muskogee, which fits nicely in the middle there. If we don't put our resources behind the things that will make a difference, allow people to live and stay and contribute in their communities, then we're going to continue to give some of our best folks to other places. What kind of initiatives are you doing for particularly the young people in Muskogee? You mentioned that not everybody has to go to college, and I think that's a refreshing thing to hear, because we have some great learning opportunities that are not associated with a 4-year degree. What kinds of work are you doing with the young people in Muskogee to give them the life skills that they need, but also a connection to their city that will keep them there?
One of the things that we did recently in Muskogee was we passed an initiative in the form of a memorandum of understanding that basically put the city of Muskogee, Muskogee Public Schools, and the Hilldale Public School District into an agreement that basically said, we know that we can't achieve economic advancement. We know that we can't accomplish having a successful housing footprint without having an agreement with education. So we can't move on as a municipality unless we address the needs of education. And so that memorandum of understanding puts us all in agreement together that we'll work towards being certain that our young people have a future here in Muskogee. Some of the other things that we're trying to work on is to be certain that we've got a bridge where we can lead our children from education to work. So the Hilldale Public School, as well as Muskogee Public School Districts here in Muskogee, have incredible fab labs to try to introduce our young people into design, into engineering, so that when they graduate from high school, they can go from high school to work. Another thing that we're trying to work on is to be certain that we have an opportunity for young people to want to stay in Muskogee, even if we can provide those bridges for them to go from high school to trade school, that when they finish that part of their education, they'll want to stay here. So we know that people who spend money after 6 p.m. And in our situation right now in Muskogee, meaning that much of that money is spent in Tulsa or other areas. Well, we need to provide an entertainment venue here so that those young people can live, work, and play in Muskogee. One of the things that we're also working on is to be certain that through the community foundation, that we have resources available to help our VOTEC as well as our two-year college, which is Connors Community College, Connors State College, rather, to be certain that they have the resources to hire the instructors that they need. Because I think what a lot of cities overlook is the fact that even though we want to offer better education to our young people through education or trade beyond high school, it costs money to hire those instructors and to hire those trade teachers, especially when funds are being cut at the state level. And so we're doing what we can to work with our community foundation to be certain that they can apply the grants to be able to hire those instructors at the nursing programs, to hire those instructors at the VOTEC, such as plumbing, woodworking, HVAC system repair and installation, so that young people know that they've got other options. Everyone is not cut out for college, and that's not an insult. That's not a derogatory comment. We just know that some people are better suited for trade areas. And when you look at the economic footprint, most of the money that's being paid is being paid in trade, VOTEC, and nursing, healthcare industry. Those are the professions that are really paying. And so we encourage our young people by working towards those areas of work, as well as doing what we can at the municipal level to be certain that they have those opportunities so that they can make the quality living that they deserve, and then in turn, hopefully reinvest their life here in Muskogee, as well as wherever they're living now in their other cities.
I'll tell you something. One of the most refreshing things about our time together this evening is you are not talking about, you're not talking like a typical politician. You are talking like somebody's dad. You're talking like a coach. You're talking like a teacher. You're talking like someone who cares about other people. And ultimately, that's what makes a good politician. I'll tell you from just our brief chat this evening, you are doing some things that I believe have legs far beyond Muskogee. And I hope that you folks are taking good notes of the things that you're doing, because what a tremendous gift to be able to offer to other cities around the state, the successes that you are having, the goals that you have. And I applaud you for the work. I applaud you for your vision for your community. And I'm going to ask that you keep us informed about what's going on in Muskogee, and that you'll come back and visit with us sometime in the new year just to give us an update. Will you do that, Mayor?
I certainly will. I certainly will. And I hope that anything we do here in Muskogee, if it can be replicated and duplicated to make the state of Oklahoma better, certainly we want to be participants in that strive to make our city and our state a better place. So I'll be happy to come back, and I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Well, and thank you so much, and wonderful Christmas to you and your family, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Well, friends, we are just a smack out of time for tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much to Mayor Marlon J. Coleman for being our guest tonight, and thanks to you. We are here because of you, because we care about you. We want to know what you think so that we can provide you with the very best. That's not true just of this broadcast, but of everything we do at the Oklahoma Democratic Party, because it's not a party of one person or a few people. It's every Democrat in the state. And working together, we can affect positive change in the year to come. Very quickly, our guest next week will be Ken Martin, who is the chair of the ASDC, which is the Association of State Democratic Committees. Extremely talented man when it comes to working with and for state parties. And it's a big deal that we're able to spend half an hour with him next week. So I hope that you'll put it on your calendar and join us. and share this program with others, because we want a broader audience so that we can hear from more people what we can be doing for you. Until next week, when we are together, please take good care of yourself. Please wash your hands, socially distance, wear your mask, and even if it's virtually, hug yourself and hug your friends, because we will get through this together. I promise. We are on our way to something much better. Until next week, I'm Scott J. Hamilton, thanking you on behalf of all of us at the Oklahoma Democratic Party. We'll see you again next week. Good night.